It is Friday, 21st February 2025. Good morning. This is Mervin Hanley. Welcome. If you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, now is the opportunity. Do so. Normally on a Friday, we'll have commentary. We'll present to you whatever issues taking place around one of the islands or in the Caribbean or in the diaspora. So much happening right now. But this morning, I want to focus on the island of Nevis, and I want to introduce to you Dr. Kelvin Daly. Dr. Kelvin Daly, very outspoken. He's very passionate about his country, about his island of Nevis, and he has something to share with you this morning. There has been much conversation about lands on Nevis, over 1,000 acres of lands. That's on the southern side of the island. I believe that's on the Long Point side of the island, that back road in Long Point leading up to Gingerland, the Brown Hill. And Dr. Daly has some information for the general public of Nevis and those in the diaspora. So we're going to hear from Dr. Daly, give him the opportunity to say what he has to say and just digest it. And it warrants a conversation. So here is Dr. Kelvin Daly for you.
Good morning, Mervin, and good morning to all your listeners, whether here on Nevis or in the greater diaspora. I am challenged today to bring some light to the issues of land ownership here on Nevis. It is a vexing matter. It is a troubling matter because from what we understand, there is a move to corner the market of lands stretching from Long Point all the way to Indian Castle. Some over 1,000 acres of land owned by Nevisians for the greater part. Nevis and Nevisians pride ourselves on being landowners, and the history of passing that ownership to our children and grandchildren. That parcel of land, which comprises several old British colonial estates, include places like Whitehall, Cox Heath, Winter Forest, Marden, Richmond Lodge, Pembroke, Douglas Work, Cockle Harbour, North Whale, Bush Hill, Long Point, and of course, Saddle Hill and Paget. These are all important parts of our history. And what has been happening recently is that there's a move to acquire those properties by some unknown interest, some unknown foreign interest to speak of. And on the ground here in Nevis, that move is being spearheaded by the wife of the Premier, Ms. Sharon Brantley. She owns the company 17 Degrees North Realtors. What they're doing is not illegal, let me qualify that. But what they're doing is, in my estimation, heavy-handed and almost forcible because of the level of input that they're exerting on landowners. Phone calls, WhatsApp messages, texts, emails, and it is something that we have never seen. There are no for sale signs on the properties, but for some reason, the realty company has gone into the land registry and sought out owners of these properties, whether here on Nevis or in the diaspora, and has inundated them with requests for them to part with their properties. It is, again, I say, not illegal what they're doing, but we must ask ourselves, should we allow that quantum of land, over 1,000 acres, which is perhaps the largest single uninterrupted spot left on Nevis, space left on Nevis for development? Shouldn't we have, as a government, as a people, a development plan which allows us to then see a foolproof plan of development for that area? Brown Hill needs expansion. Cox needs expansion. Other villages need expansion. We need housing here on Nevis very badly for affordable homes. We need lands for our own tourism development, and to allow this entity, which nobody seems to know exactly what they're all about, to simply come in and co-opt that stretch of land is really putting Nevis at a disadvantage going into the future. Because if we lose that single stretch, it simply means that Nevis will be hemmed in. We don't know the type of development that's planned. We don't know the scope of what they're trying to do. But in my estimation, it represents an existential threat to the very survival of how we know Nevis today. And it is something that I am not comfortable with. And so this is basically an awareness campaign that we are trying to launch to let people know, you don't have to buy into this. Do not let anybody force you to sell what you had no intention of selling. Don't let them dangle this carrot in front of you, which is not even a very good carrot, because what they're offering is some minimal amount down as a down payment, 1% I'm hearing, and then the rest to follow after 4 years. The idea in my mind is that the government has all intentions to put in the infrastructure, the roads, the water, and of course the power will follow, in which case the land values will increase significantly. And then, of course, whoever owns that land now is sitting on a virtual gold mine. And I don't know if it's for speculation. I don't know whether they have some intended development. But in the latter, if there is a development plan, then the government needs to come to the people and say, listen, this is the overall plan for this area. Let us see how best we can facilitate. But there has been no conversation by the government to deal with this matter that's causing so much anxiety among the Nevisian population. By tradition, we are landowners. We pride ourselves in owning land. And we certainly don't want to have a situation where we now cede that right to somebody else, and then we become trespassers on our own lands. And so my whole point of bringing light to this matter is that we cannot allow this wholesale movement of land away from Nevisians into some unknown entity that we have no knowledge of or no understanding of. And so this is basically my attempt and our attempt, the NRP's attempt, to understand the dynamics, the full dynamics of what is at play. It is unfortunate that we have not had an honest conversation by the government in power regarding this matter of this land, the anxiety that it's causing among the Nevisian population, the issues of all the pressure tactics employed by 17 degrees north to get people to part with their property. It is unending. And it's a shame that we are having this conversation regarding this matter of land on Nevis. So, we just need to understand better what's going on from this government, and we're not getting that forthright discussion. I'm also very, very uncomfortable, Mervin, with the fact that the Sharon Brantley is the wife of the Premier. The Premier went down to Bermuda offering persons they can purchase 10 to 15 acre lots on Nevis, that Nevis has a lot of land. And this is the same gentleman who just recently told Nevisians the government has no land left for affordable homes. Why can't it be that the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation also goes and buys some of this land and hold it in trust for the people of Nevis? That is what they were mandated to do. Why aren't they doing that? There's no sign of them having any interest in doing that. And the question is why? But I'm very uncomfortable with the fact that the Premier of the island of Nevis, Mr. Brantley, who has all the power to grant concessions on land purchases. He recently published a list of concessions which include full rebate on the alien and holding license tax of 10%, which is normally paid by the buyer of the property. They no longer have to pay that if you have citizenship of Nevis and St. Kitts. And so he is granting that, which is a direct benefit, of course, to the realty business and the realtors who are selling these lands and properties. I'm also very uncomfortable with the fact that his law firm is in the business of property transfers and to negotiate tax concessions, and including, of course, taxes on property, which are then sent to him as the Premier for approval. His law firm does this. How can you then have the Premier as the final arbiter of who gets concessions that are negotiated by his own law firm? I find that very incestuous and a blatant conflict of interest from my understanding. And so there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot to digest. There's a lot to disaggregate. Who the players are, why they're playing the way they're playing, what is the bigger picture here? What are we missing from this whole land grab issue? Who is financing it? Where is all this money coming from? Because if you're looking to acquire 1,000 acres, you're talking about, well over $100+ million US. Where is this money coming from? Through what conduit is it reaching to the island of Nevis? Who is responsible? Who are the players in this money? We are hearing that pressure is being put by offshore bankers to the Premier for him to agree to allow these foreign banks, these offshore banks, to own or purchase property. Right now, the legislation speaks to the fact that they cannot buy property other than where they exist in business. And so they are pushing hard for him to remove that piece of legislation or amend that piece of legislation that allows them to now be the conduit for monies to come into Nevis to purchase land. If that happens, Nevis is dead. Nevis is dead. The world is awash with billions and billions of dollars of dirty money. And if we have a mechanism that allows that money to land on Nevis, Nevis is dead. As we know it, Nevis is dead. And so we are hopeful that this doesn't happen. We are hoping that cooler heads and brighter minds will prevail to prevent this from happening. Everybody I've spoken to thinks it's a bad idea, it's a dangerous idea. Even our own local banks are not allowed to own property beyond what their operating place or business is. But to allow unrestricted capital to come through these offshore banks will be detrimental to Nevis in a very significant way. And so, Marvin, I am very nervous for the future of Nevis. It seems as if we have a very transactional type of premier who is all about selling, and making money. Unfortunately, there is nobody protecting, as it seems, the interests of Nevisians, whether here, who are living here, or Nevisians in the diaspora, or people who are Nevisian by descent. And so we have to really look at this under a microscope to make sure that the people of Nevis and the island of Nevis are not disadvantaged in any way, shape, or form. Thank you for having me. This brief commentary. May you have a blessed day.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot to digest. Thank you, Dr. Daly. And I am sure that Nevisians at home and abroad, they'll be asking the questions of this CCM-led government, and hopefully we get some honest answers. And hopefully there is transparency in all this of what is taking place. But from what Dr. Daly has described, certainly I do not believe that this is the way the island should go. I do not believe that these are the steps that should be taken. However, what I am willing to do is to hear from the Honorable Premier, and I'm hoping that questions will be asked soon, or he will address this head on, to hear exactly in an honest fashion to the people of Nevis exactly what are the plans his government has for the over 1,000 acres of land. And again, what Dr. Daly has said this morning, we should not sleep on this. We should not sleep on this, and we ought to demand it to hear more from our government. Yeah. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again, Dr. Daly. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've just concluded our programming for today. Do join me on Monday morning, God's willing, for a presentation of THG News Today. I am Mervin Hanley, and I want you guys to have a safe and blessed week.
Sons have been serving the people of St. Martin for over 40 years. And the food and service get better and better. From early morning, customers flock to the bakery for their favorite sandwiches, cakes, pastries, you name it. First thing at mornings and last thing at afternoons, folks rush to Carl & Sons for simply the best. There are two locations, Colbay and on the Pondville. In Colbay, the opening hours are Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. On Saturdays, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on Sundays, 6:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Opening hours on the Pondville, Monday to Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, 6:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also cater for weddings, parties, special events, whatever the occasion. It's Carl & Sons. Our staff, we are always happy to serve you. Call us today, the Colbay location, 721-544-2462. That's 721-544-2462. Or in Phillipsburg, 721-543-1059. That's 721-543-1059. It's Carl & Sons Bakery. We are here to serve you.
Nevis, satisfy your sweet tooth at Feases, the cozy spot in Charlestown, known for its mouth-watering ice cream and doll parade. We are open Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come in and sample our patties, sandwiches, air-fried wings with fries, hot dogs, rotis, and now our famous smoothies, in all flavors of course. And don't forget to try the famous bus-up shut and saltfish. It's Feases, located at the entrance to the Cotton Ginnery Mall in Charlestown, Nevis. They're also available by phone, So place your order by calling 1-869-665-2458. Don't ask about the rest. Just try the best.